Guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 18 on DraftKings is here. I have my, well, not even my, it's not even like the $5. It's, here are some running backs that we're going to suggest that you might want to consider for week 18 in NFL DFS. I say might consider because it is, this slate is very fluid right now. It's Wednesday as I'm recording this. We're getting some inactives, players coming in, players coming out, players being sat down. Justin Fields just reported that he is not going to play this weekend. Well, he didn't report it. The Bears reported it. We also know that Sam Howell is going to be the starting quarterback. So, like, it's kind of going to be a moving target as the week goes along. But I have detailed, how many do I have here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 running backs that I think are in very good spots, are very cheap, should get you some volume in what projects to be a very low scoring slate this week, just across the board. Totals between like 38 and 42 in the majority of the games on this slate. So it's going to be an interesting one. We do have to pick our spots, but there's plenty of value at the running back position to either afford one of the expensive ones or to just go all value and pay up at wide receiver. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
It's the final week of the regular season, and this is the final week of the Smiz Gang Listener League for the 2022-2023 NFL season on DraftKings. So make sure that you get your seat into this $10 contest, 3 max, absolutely no rake. Most tournaments have that, like, at the $10 level, have between 12 and 15% of the money that goes into the prize pool that comes out as a service fee to DraftKings. DraftKings, as a service to the Smiz Gang community, gives us this rake-free tournament that you can get to at smizzle.tv/links. And while you're there, click like everything else. I will shout out the top 10 finishers on the Al Smizzle Fantasy Football channel on Monday. The link to that is also in the link tree at smizzle.tv/links. Make sure you get your seat today. Let's fill it. Show DraftKings as happy as we are for them supporting us here at the Smiz Gang. So give them your patronage first through the Listener League 3 max tournament. Only 3. So smaller field, limited, and absolutely no rake. All the money that comes in goes right back out to everybody who plays. So let's get to the running backs. Number 1, Najee Harris, who we had on the cover. It's not like they're in no particular order. I think I kind of have him a little bit in salary order, but I always put the cover boy first. He's not like the number 1 running back on the week, but he is a running back who is playing this week and does project to have an awful lot of volume, right? So like volume over everything for me, especially when all of that volume comes against a defense that has been entirely inefficient at stopping opposing running backs like the Cleveland Browns have this year. Now, yes, has it been a disappointing year for Najee Harris overall? Certainly at 13.3 fantasy points per game. But if you look at his volume the last 3 weeks, 22 carries, 16 carries, 24 carries, 24 opportunities against Carolina, 25 against Las Vegas, 25 again against Baltimore. This game does have meaning for them. Cleveland is extremely vulnerable on the ground against running backs, and we have seen a return to efficiency at least last week against Baltimore, another team that has been one that we can kind of attack with opposing running backs. And he is involved in the passing game, very involved as they get closer to the goal line, as it's like him and Freiermuth are their 2 highest targeted players inside the red zone. Harris is going to get a massive workload this week. He's only 6,100, playing at home, a 5-box running back. Those 5 boxes being defined as playing at home, favored, having an expectation over 20 opportunities involved in the passing game, and getting usage inside the 5-yard line. As disappointing as a season as it has been, still 9 touchdowns scored for Harris in his sophomore season. Christian McCaffrey is never a disappointment as long as he is not injured. So as long as he's on the field, he is going to project to get a massive amount of volume. 28 opportunities last week. Now look, some of these guys, it is week 18, have to come with this caveat. Not everybody's going to play. Not everybody's going to play a full complement. Teams do play at the same time. The league kind of manicures the schedule in week 18 to make sure that anybody that has relevancy against one another are all playing at the same time. So San Francisco, Philadelphia, and Dallas all kick off at exactly the same time, but that does not mean that at halftime, if things are going the way that things go, and the hierarchy is obviously Eagles, San Francisco, then Dallas. If the Eagles lose, San Francisco, if they win, can move into a number 1 seed. So if the Eagles are losing, the 49ers are going to keep pushing to try and win. If the Eagles are up 30 or 40 points in the middle of the 3rd quarter, that news is going to trickle down and they may start sitting their starters in the second half. All of that is like maybes. We don't know. It's not set in stone, but like, I'm going to do these videos this week, assuming that everybody's going to play their full complement. And then if they do not play, or if you get news that they're going to sit, My advice, just like in the first look video, is don't play them. It's very straightforward and simple. You don't have to be a cosplay Shefty that reports down in the thing. Aren't you worried about, I heard that this guy's going to sit. We'll all deal with that information when it trickles out. We will have as clear a picture by Sunday morning when we do the Anti-Tinkercast over on Twitch 45 minutes before kickoff. But Christian McCaffrey, monster set of tools. Touchdowns in 5 straight since coming over to San Francisco, and just dominating. 28, 32, 28. Yeah, he put up this stinker against Washington, 34 against Las Vegas. I would say he's got a 25+ point expectation every time he takes the field for San Francisco. Just an amazing running back, an amazing talent, and shame on you if you thought that you could not draft him in the first 2 rounds because you were smarter than everybody being able to predict injury. You can't. They're random. As long as he's healthy, he is the number 1 running back. Austin Ekeler has put up number 1 running back type numbers throughout the season, 23.2 DraftKings points on the year. Now, there is some trepidation. There is some worry that from the aren't you worried about crowd, that aren't you worried about the Chargers not playing Herbert and not playing Austin Ekeler. I personally am not worried about that. If the Chargers win this game, they get the winner of Tennessee, Jacksonville. That seems a lot better than if the Chargers lose this game, they get either Cincinnati or Buffalo. They'd be 6-point dogs to Cincy or Buffalo. They would either be favored or 1 or 2 points either way against Jacksonville. That is the much more desirable playoff matchup in the first round. They are on a Herm Edwards path here. You play to win the game, and Austin Ekeler, I think, is in a great spot here. Obviously, his passing numbers or his numbers in the receiving game have gone down since both Keenan Allen, and predictably so, since Keenan Allen and Mike Williams have gotten back, right? So they haven't had to rely on dump-offs all the time because they didn't have wide receivers that could get open or be reliable against defenses. Now Josh Palmer is pushed down to the wide receiver 3 in the offense, where he belongs, where he should be, where he can thrive the most as a player, which means that the Chargers don't have to throw it as much to Austin Ekeler. But Denver is very good against perimeter wide receivers with the cornerbacks that they have, starting with Patrick Surtain the second, and him being matched up very likely on Mike Williams this week might see a bump in Austin Ekeler's targets from the 11 that he's seen over the past 3 weeks, probably closer to something like 6+, 7+ in this game, as they won't be able to get the space. Not that Mike Williams is good at getting separation anyway. It's why he has to make circus catches all the time and contested catches all the time, because he doesn't separate from anyone. But most people can't separate from Surtain anyway, which could, in my theorization here, in my theorizing, I believe that Austin Ekeler is going to see a few more targets this week with the same usage in the running game as well as in the red zone when they get closed. Every game has a low total, but the possibilities for him to have a much heightened floor this week because of that accelerated usage in the passing game are on board at 8,900. If you want to play him off of Christian McCaffrey, I'm all for it. Joe Mixon, 7,100 going against Baltimore. It is a divisional matchup. We know that those can always be tough. The last time that they played, he only had 11.8 points, averaging 17.3 on the year. Only 7,100. So, like, you see the difference coming all the way down from, like, McCaffrey and Ekeler at 89 and 93 down to like 7,100. You can fit so much more into your lineup. Now, there should be some extreme values that pop up. Quarterbacks are very cheap this week. We're going to find some extreme value at wide receiver, so paying up at running back is certainly possible. Great usage in the passing game since he came back to that first game, but like 6 targets against Tampa Bay in week 15. In week 16, 9 targets, and the discontinued game in week 17 for obvious reasons. So he's got kind of like a bye-ish week because they didn't play on Monday night because of the cancellation due to Hamlin's injuries. Hopefully he is doing as well. News is that he's improving. Hopefully that trend continues. We all want to see him get healthy and back. But Joe Mixon at 7,100 this week against Baltimore at home is certainly a solid spot to go to. And I don't know if he's going to be very heavily held in tournaments. He may fall at that in-between price point where it makes them awkward to roster based on what standard roster builds could be, where I think it's going to be at least 2 of the 6,100 or 6,300 and down running backs, and then giving us one of the superstar running backs. So this mid-range where Mixon sits might be like 5 to 15%, which is a perfect sweet spot, especially on a large slate like this one. Ken Walker at 6,400 definitely has a chance to run for a bunch of, like, this is a game that they need to win. They win this game, it eliminates Detroit. It puts them into the to the playoffs, and we're going to get 25 opportunities out of him. Now, you may not get very much usage in the passing game. We've seen him get as many as 5 targets. That was in a game against San Francisco, who's tougher against the run. The Rams aren't really all that tough against pretty much anything right now, though they have been doing a better job recently since Baker Mayfield was inserted as the quarterback over the insurance salesman that they had at quarterback the few games before that after they had shut down Stafford. Ken Walker is going to run the football. They are going to hand it to him an awful lot. So you're going to get a ton of opportunity, 100-yard bonus and a touchdown. I'm not going to say likely on the touchdown, but definitely likely to challenge for the 100-yard bonus and at least a half a touchdown on projection in this spot. And Cam Akers on the other side of this game is 6,200. 100-yard bonus in each of the last 2 weeks, running exceptionally well for over 5 yards per carry in each of the last 3 games. Has some usage in the passing game as there just aren't all that many weapons. Like the wide receiver room right now for the Rams is Van Jefferson, Powell, and Tutu Atwell are basically manning the outside. Now, Seattle is a run funnel because they've done a really good job against opposing passing games. They also give it up to tight ends. So like somebody like Tyler Higbee could thrive in this game, and so could Cam Akers, both of them at somewhat average prices at their position. 4,400 I think Higbee is, and 6,200 is about the average price overall for your salary on DraftKings, and projects as a solid value this week to 2.5 plus 3x his salary. And the last guy on the list, you're not going to get very much usage in the passing game, but like nobody passes against Houston anyway because they can just run for 5 yards a carry. The last 2 weeks against the Giants, 4.9 yards per carry for Zach Moss. He's 5,200 against the most targetable run defense in the league. The week before, in a loss, 12 carries, 65 yards, 5.4. Those are both games where Indy got throttled and had to abandon the running game at least a little bit. They lost 20-3 against the Chargers. They lost 38-10 against the Giants. This is a game that they are favored. The Indianapolis Colts are freaking favored. In a game that played close against Minnesota 3 weeks ago, he got 25 opportunities. So in a game that does project to have teams playing closer, Indianapolis, what is the spread in this game right now? They're favored by 2.5. So if this game stays a field goal either way or 6 or less points either way, a neutral sort of game script, Zach Moss will project to get over 20 opportunities and possibly approaching 25 opportunities against a team that has allowed more carries to opposing running backs than any other team in the league and averages over 5 yards allowed per rush to opposing running backs. A 100-yard bonus should be in play. A touchdown on the ground should be in play for Zach Moss, and I think that he will end up being one of the higher played running backs on the week. So thank you guys for watching. Look out for another video right there.
Legend.